let's dive into the world of cybersecurity. We live so much of our lives online, from banking to shopping to connecting with friends. But with all this digital activity comes risk. Our personal information, like passwords and credit card numbers, is valuable to cybercriminals. That's why cybersecurity is so crucial. And that's what we're going to talk about today. 2 fundamental cybersecurity principles that help keep our information safe. Need to know and least privilege. These principles might sound complicated, but they're actually pretty straightforward. The need to know principle is all about limiting access to information. The least privilege principle goes hand in hand with need to know. In the next few minutes, we'll break down these principles, explore how they work in practice, and discuss why they're so vital in today's digital landscape. All right, let's dive into the first principle. Need to know. Imagine you have a top-secret recipe for the world's best chocolate chip cookies. Would you share it with everyone, or just a select few? That's the basic idea behind need to know. It's about protecting sensitive information by limiting access to only those who absolutely need it to do their job. In the digital world, this sensitive information could be anything from customer data to financial records to confidential business plans. By restricting access to this information, we reduce the risk of it falling into the wrong hands. The fewer people who have access, the smaller the attack surface becomes. A marketing assistant, for example, doesn't need to see employee salary data. So how do we actually put need to know into practice? It starts with understanding what information is sensitive. Organizations often categorize data based on its sensitivity. Once the data is classified, then comes the implementation of access controls. This could involve using passwords, multi-factor authentication, or even biometric verification to ensure that only authorized individuals can access the information. Let's bring this to life with a relatable example. Imagine you're at the doctor's office. You wouldn't want your entire medical history accessible to everyone in the building, would you? Only your doctor and maybe a few authorized nurses who are directly involved in your care need access to your full medical records. The receptionist, billing department, or other staff members wouldn't have access to this sensitive information. This principle is crucial in many sectors, from healthcare to finance to government. Now, let's move on to our second principle, least privilege. If need to know is about who gets access, least privilege is about how much access they get. Think of it like this. You wouldn't give someone the keys to your entire house if they just needed to water your plants. That's the essence of least privilege, giving users the absolute minimum level of access they need to do their jobs effectively and nothing more. This principle minimizes the potential damage that could be caused by malicious insiders or even accidental data breaches. By limiting access, we limit the potential impact of any security incidents. So, how do we implement least privilege in a practical way? One common approach is through role-based access control, or RBAC. Essentially, RBAC involves creating different roles within the organization and assigning specific permissions to each role. Another key aspect of implementing least privilege is conducting regular access reviews. People change roles, projects evolve, and access needs change over time. Regularly reviewing and updating user permissions ensures that access remains appropriate and aligned with their current responsibilities. And then there's just-in-time access, where access to specific resources or systems is granted only when it's needed and revoked immediately after the task is completed. Let's bring this to life with a real-world example. Imagine a large online retailer with thousands of employees. Not everyone in the company needs access to sensitive customer data, such as credit card numbers or home addresses. With the least privilege principle in place, access to this data would be restricted to specific roles, like customer support representatives, who need it to process refunds or address specific customer inquiries. By compartmentalizing access in this way, the company significantly reduces the risk of unauthorized data access and potential breaches. The benefits of least privilege extend beyond just cybersecurity, improving operational efficiency by ensuring that employees have access to the tools and information they need to do their jobs effectively. Okay, so we've covered the what and the how of need to know and least privilege. But where did these principles come from? Well, they're not exactly new concepts. Some of the earliest forms of these principles were used during times of war. During World War II, the need to control access to classified information became paramount. This led to the formalization of need to know as a core security principle. The idea was simple. Only those directly involved in a mission and who absolutely needed access to specific information to complete their tasks were granted that access. As technology advanced and the digital landscape emerged, these principles transitioned from the battlefields to the boardrooms. With the rise of computers and the internet, the amount of sensitive data being stored and transmitted electronically skyrocketed. This created a whole new set of security challenges. Cyber criminals saw an opportunity to exploit vulnerabilities and gain access to valuable data. And so, need to know and least privilege found new life in the digital age. They became fundamental principles of cybersecurity, guiding organizations in their efforts to protect data from increasingly sophisticated threats. In today's hyper-connected world, where data breaches are a constant threat, need to know and least privilege are more important than ever. They're not just nice-to-haves, they're essential for any organization serious about cybersecurity. A single data breach can result in financial losses, reputational damage, and even legal repercussions. By adhering to these principles, organizations can significantly reduce their attack surface, making it much harder for cybercriminals to gain unauthorized access to sensitive data. These principles also promote operational efficiency. When employees have access to only the information and resources they need to do their jobs, it reduces distractions, streamlines workflows, and minimizes the risk of accidental data modification or deletion. As we move further into the digital age, these principles will continue to evolve and adapt to new challenges. The rise of cloud computing, the Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence are all introducing new complexities to the cybersecurity landscape. Organizations need to stay ahead of the curve, constantly evaluating and updating their access control policies and practices to keep pace with these advancements. This includes exploring new technologies and approaches to access management, such as biometrics, behavioral analysis, and machine learning. Equally important is fostering a culture of security awareness among employees. By embracing these principles and adapting them to the ever-evolving digital landscape, organizations can create a more secure and resilient future for themselves and their stakeholders. We've talked a lot about the what and why of need to know and least privilege. Now let's see these principles in action across different sectors. Let's start with healthcare. Patient data is incredibly sensitive. In healthcare, need to know ensures that only authorized medical professionals directly involved in a patient's care have access to their medical records. Least privilege further refines this by ensuring, for example, that a billing specialist can access billing codes and insurance details, but not the patient's detailed medical history. Next, let's look at finance. Banks and other financial institutions handle sensitive financial information daily. Here, need to know and least privilege are paramount in preventing unauthorized access to customer accounts, fraudulent transactions, and identity theft. Now let's face it, even with the best security measures in place, data breaches can still happen. But what often separates a minor incident from a catastrophic event is how well an organization has implemented need to know and least privilege. Remember that massive Target data breach back in 2013? Hackers gained access to millions of credit and debit card numbers. It turned out that a third-party vendor with access to Target's network had their credentials compromised. This breach highlighted the importance of not just securing your own systems, but also carefully managing access for vendors and partners. The key takeaway here is that while we can't completely eliminate the risk of breaches, we can significantly minimize their impact by limiting who has access to sensitive information and to what extent. All right, so we've established that need to know and least privilege are crucial for cybersecurity. But how do we actually put these principles into practice effectively?
Well, it's not just about flipping a switch or installing some fancy software. It requires a multifaceted approach that combines technology, policy, and perhaps most importantly, a culture of security awareness.
Think of it like this. You can have the most sophisticated security system in the world, but if someone leaves the front door wide open, it's not going to do much good, right? That's why user education is paramount.
Employees need to understand why these principles are important, how they work in practice, and what their role is in maintaining a secure environment. This education shouldn't be a one-time thing either. It needs to be an ongoing process, reinforced through regular training sessions, awareness campaigns, and clear communication from leadership.
Technology as our ally. Tools and techniques for effective access control. User education is essential, but not enough. We need the right tools to enforce need to know and least privilege.
Many security solutions help manage access control efficiently, from password managers to sophisticated IAM systems. IAM systems manage user identities, roles, and permissions.
Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, adds an extra layer of security. MFA requires multiple forms of identification for access. Section 3. Staying ahead of the curve. The importance of ongoing audit and compliance. Implementing need to know and least privilege is not a one-and-done deal. It's an ongoing process that requires regular review and adjustment.
This is where audits and compliance come into play. Regular audits help identify vulnerabilities and assess controls. Audits can be internal or by third-party experts. The goal is to provide an objective assessment and identify areas for improvement.
Section 4. The human element, fostering a culture of shared responsibility. While technology and policies are crucial components of a robust cybersecurity strategy, it's important to remember that security is ultimately a human endeavor. It's about people understanding the importance of protecting sensitive information and making responsible decisions about data access and sharing.
That's why fostering a culture of shared responsibility is so essential. Every individual within an organization, from the CEO to the newest intern, plays a role in maintaining a secure environment. This involves encouraging employees to report suspicious activity, be mindful of phishing scams, and practice good password hygiene. It's about creating an environment where security is everyone's responsibility, not just the IT department's problem. By empowering employees, promoting open communication, and fostering a culture of security awareness, organizations can create a truly resilient security posture that goes beyond just checking boxes and implementing technical controls.
Embracing need to know and least privilege for a more secure future. So there you have it. Need to know and least privilege are foundational principles of cybersecurity. They sound simple, right? And they are in concept. But their impact is profound. These principles empower us to be responsible digital citizens. Just like we lock our doors, we need to protect our digital lives. Every click, every download, every share is a choice about security. Embrace need to know and least privilege in all aspects of life. Think before you share a password or click a suspicious link. Ask yourself, is there a safer way? By doing so, we become active participants in our own cybersecurity. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe in the digital world.